Hello, folks, and welcome to Smiley's. Tonight, we'll be tackling The Gods Are Willing, which is book one of Witness Trilogy. I am joined tonight by Mora and a new guest. Would you like to introduce her, Furo?
Hey guys, I'm you MaestRo6279 on Reddit. Unlike some of the other guests who featured on this podcast before, I don't have any podcast. I don't have a YouTube channel, and I have not written the Book of the Fallen. I'm just a guy who read these books and fell in love with all things Malazan, and I'm here to talk about The God is Not Willing with my friends. Yeah,
Unreal.
Welcome, Ro. Welcome.
thank
Uh,
you. Thank you for asking me to be a part of this.
yeah.
Of course.
Right. So you're the first time reader. How did you find the book?
Um, this book was definitely a solid entry into the world of Malazan. The one thing that stood out to me was how focused it was, not just in terms of storyline, but also geographically. We had only two plot lines, and I think that this allowed all the characters to get their own time under the spotlight, and there was enough content to flesh them all out. And I don't know, it was good for character development, I'd say. So unlike the other books in the Book of the Fallen, this was simple compared to them, and it was easier to read, a pleasant read. Yeah, and I loved it.
Mhm. uh,
So yeah, what did you guys think?
uh, yeah, I reread it with you just now. But
Yeah.
last year I read it as soon as it came out, and I wasn't. I liked it, but I had some issues in the sense that the same things which you mentioned now, that it was simple and easy to follow and all those things. I somehow I don't know. Probably I was expecting something a bit more like Karkanas or something, and it was
Hmm.
sort of a you know it fell a little flat for me last time. But this time, yeah, I can see what's happening, and it was a much more fun read actually the second time. What about
I
you,
found
Lee?
it refreshing that
Yeah, no.
when you
Yeah,
said it was simple, it was refreshing.
yeah. I don't know why I went in, expecting huge world building and stuff like that, and but it was fun. It was just fun and easy to follow and all that. But somehow I didn't. I wasn't expecting that.
So I think, in a way, it feels this way because we're not seeing the whole product. Like if we take Forge of Darkness, without Fall of Light, Forge of Darkness on its own isn't too revolutionary or sprawling or big. It's a good book. It's a very good book. It still has like Arcana's feel, but compared to like Fall of Light, it's more traditional. I think the same might be true of this book, God's Not Willing, because yes, it's very focused. Yes, and I think precisely because it is focused, you are losing out on the greater details that, and you witness change both through characters that have already witnessed it, like say every mage, say for Spindle, and characters that don't know enough about what's going on or care enough about what's going on. Like Stillwater, for example, doesn't really care about what the Empire's up to as long as she can, I don't know, pet Pallid. And we don't get to see the POVs like Gruff or Sevet or people who are actually in the know, or for that matter, any bigger players, like, say, the titular god who's not willing. Um, and because of the narrative structure of the book, which is, as you guys said, very focused, it's like Teblor, Silver Lake, that's it, Convergence. You don't get feel for like the bigger, because even Carcanas deals with like the greater environs of Carcanas, not just the city and what's going on in the city, deals with the whole realm. This isn't that. It's very focused, which is going to lead down an interesting path when we eventually branch out to Seven Cities next book. So how that's gonna go. I like the book. I read it in like a week the first time, well, the only time. I read it in like a week. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was on the backbone of my finishing a sale. I picked it up the next day. And right after that, after finishing this book, I started my Lacine essay. So, there's that. I might have been paying more attention to some things than others. So, for that matter, I stopped paying attention to the Teblor storyline entirely after the Mist died. Like, I don't remember what happens between the Mist dying and the final, like, flood. I don't remember anything.
I don't
So,
think much happens. Yeah.
fun book. I'm
Hmm.
going to withhold judgment until I see more of it to know for sure where it's gonna go, and because I've made a post about this that I have no fucking clue where the story's going.
Oh, you did?
And I did. It's about LF and like a certain individual and their motivation. But the same can be said of like the general story of okay, yeah, Rand has this whole thing, but why are we going to Seven Cities? What's going on there? what happened to Rant? So I don't really know what's going to happen in this book, or in the series rather, on the book, to know for sure. Which is why I've said like this could be 4 books, but
Okay.
we'll see. Overall, fun book. I would recommend reading it. It might even be a good entry point to the series, as many people have suggested. It's fun. It has a lot of Easter eggs. It's somewhat independent, and it isn't. It's not as deep as Carcanas, which is, as I have to concur with Ro here. It's more refreshing than like, okay, we'll get to it when we get to it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think both of us follow the same reading order, right? After after the Book of the Fallen, we went to the last 3
yeah,
novels and then to Witness.
yes.
And
Well,
hopefully, I
I
think I'll be
didn't.
starting Carcana soon.
Yeah, I didn't read the
Yeah.
the novellas, but yeah, other than that, yes.
Okay. Right.
So, Rasuli, before we
Mhm.
start, do you want to tell us what happens at the end of Book of the Fallen, the new magic system?
Okay,
Just
all
to
right.
refresh us.
So, where do you want me to start? I can start all the way at the back, like Carcana's times, or I can. No, it's
No,
fine.
no,
Go as
no.
far ahead.
Okay, so at the end of Reaper's Gale, Icarium pulls a Krull. His quote is literally, "If Krull can do it, why not me?"
Icarium pulls a crowd.
I mean, he literally thinks that, like, if Krull can do it, why not me? And
Right.
he creates a set of new warrants, and then his psyche gets shattered. So he is off wandering in the desert, and a lot of his shattered psyche is manifestation of a few different people. One of them being Feather Witch / Breath. When the group / Icarium reach Calza Rooted in Dust of Dreams, Breath does a sort of tile reading, but not with actual tiles because the tiles are and instead makes use of Icarium's new warrants. And she starts explaining to the group of how they work and how they're new and how they're different from past warrants. So, what differentiates them, for the most part, is they're mostly like, if you take the holds and the deck of dragons, they're very people focused. You have the holds, the different individuals in the hold. You have the empty hold with all the different unaligned and fulcra stuff. But even the unaligned often are individuals. Like you have the fulcra, one of the fulcra being like the errant or axe, which is the heiress, or a whole bunch of things that eventually lead back to people. That deck has all the houses, which also are people or ascendants, and unaligned, which also correspond to many people, like say Master of the Deck being Ganos, or
What's Icarium's?
Obelisk being a whole lot of
Yeah,
things,
obelisk.
or like
Yeah.
Death Slayer and Life Slayer being the crippled god and Icarium. Icarium's
Sorry,
new
what?
warrants, yeah. There were 2 cards in the House of War, which later became unaligned, called Life Slayer, which is Icarium, and Death Slayer, which was the crippled god.
Oh, I didn't know about Death Slayer. Okay.
Where is this from? It's new to
Reaper's
me too.
Gale, I think, 100, somewhere like
Okay.
that. We'll see it soon. Don't worry. The point
Yeah.
is,
Okay.
Icarium's warrants don't have this. They are more unaligned, to use the literal meaning of the word. They have the core ones that Breath brings up are like Chance, which is symbolized by Knuckles, which has Fortune and Misfortune, which, spoiler alert, gets brought up in Witness. There's Rule, which is like, rather than Orb, Scepter, and Throne, which we have in the deck, there's Rule, which is 1 card, or 1 runt, I guess. We have Life, Death, Light, Dark, Fire, Water, Air, and Stone. And then there's Time, which is symbolized by Star Wheel. Generally, all of the warrants that he has created are not tied to people in their divination, which shows through a lot in Witness. Because while such runs exist, like we have Twice Alive, which is Ganos, we have Unloved Woman, which is Tavor, we have Church of the Eel is brought up, we have a few others, which I can't remember right now, which correspond to people. The core warrants don't. And so they're more refined in a sense, much like continuing the trend of hold, warren, runt, or whatever it is. They're more powerful because Sin uses them, for instance, and like incinerates the fuck out of Stormy and Gessler, which have supposedly immunity to fire, and they realize that this isn't Tellus anymore. This is something more powerful than Tellus. And they're also more multifaceted and also more specialized, which we get also to see in Witness with the runts and Misfortune being played on Benger. So
Yeah.
it's complicated. It's weird. There's a lot more to it, but that's the basic rundown from what we know from the Book of the Fallen thus far.
I think
What?
even
Yep.
though they are unaligned, they are also paired in some way. The aspects
Yeah.
are paired.
Mhm.
For example, you have rule and ambition. All the coins have one aspect on each side, and somehow they are balanced, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Knuckles was opposite of Skull, I believe, isn't it? Like fortune and misfortune, isn't it?
Yep.
That's the runt
Yeah.
which that night knife uses against Benger. So they just flip the coin, isn't it? That's basically how they're using the runts for sorcery. Is
It's
Yeah, actually,
weird
I'm not
because
clear entirely.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird because there is I think there's a quote from Steve somewhere which he says that the deck is somewhat entangled with the reader, so whoever casts the deck somewhat has sort of an effect on the outcome. I
Mhm.
don't know because okay, with a deck it's more random, like the world and sort of enforces what the deck is going to be. Here it's just a flip of a coin, right? So is there some sort of like universal thing like okay, the world ensures that this is going to come up during a thing, and if you flip the coin over while there's a reading going on, what happens then? And I don't fucking know. I don't think we have answers to that in this book. So it's more odd, and I think we're gonna have to spend a few more books with it to figure out exactly how it works. I'm open to suggestions.
And we still don't know how these new warrants fit with the old ones. And can we talk about that spoiler from OST at the end?
I have finished OST. Go ahead.
Okay, so as we know, we have Tren, who is now the new Krull, and I assume that he's still there, and he's the god of warrants or whatever it was that Krull was back then. And so, what exactly is his role? That question is still kind of unanswered because we have the new warrants from Icarium here, and there was some description, something in Witness where someone says that the new warrants and the old ones have tangled in some way. They're all intertwined, and I don't know how the whoever uses sorcery, I don't know how they use them separately. It's the magic system is just not explained clearly, and like you said, I guess we need some more books. Do you have
Yeah.
anything to add?
I can just add that even if we get a dozen more books, the magic system is going to be left unexplained. No, but the whole still exists, isn't it? Even when the warrants came to be and the houses were formed.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it is just another layer. I don't think the warrants are destroyed or lost or something. We just have a newer version now. Like the deck might still exist. Maybe there are still people using the deck.
Yeah, Margaret mentions them that some deck mancers have tried to incorporate the new warrants into the deck readings,
Hmm.
but it just doesn't work. So yeah,
It
they still
doesn't
exist.
work.
They're still widely used. He says it's awkward. Like if I posted the quote somewhere, that
Is this like a new version of like you download Windows 11 and your old things stop working?
there is no backwards compatibility between a deck of
Yeah,
dragons and the new
yeah,
warrants.
yeah. Ikariam is a cutthroat capitalist. So what can you do?
Apparently, it's like Apple.
Yeah.
Why are we dissing Apple all of a sudden? Right.
I think Ganos is still the master of the deck, and he's also the Lord of Divination or something. And Twin Face or Twice Alive, something. Twice
Yeah,
Alive was it?
twice alive. Yeah, yep,
Twice alive. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's him, isn't it?
yes.
yeah, yeah. So yeah,
So
so shall
tell
we?
me all the you read the NLF excerpt, isn't it, Ro?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, and in the write-up, Steve says that when he does all these callbacks to things which you have come across in the Book of the Fallen, it's like he's high-fiving the reader, like
Yeah,
telling them that yeah, you remember this, yeah, I'm bringing this back and all that. So did you have such moments when you were reading God is Not Willing, like things
yeah.
which were deliberately being called back?
Yeah, there were a lot of references to Memory Suffice, especially down south in Black Coral, where the whole thing happened at the end of Memory Suffice. And we have a lot of characters who were present there. We have Spindle, Monkrat, and I think most of those references came in that one conversation between them. And
Yeah.
there were also references to Stone Wielder, and there is one reference to Assail. But I don't think
We-
we'll talk about that. Yeah,
Thank you
and
so much.
as Lee said, there were no references to OST, which was surprising. I don't know, maybe maybe Steve still wanted to ensure that it wasn't spoiled or something. But then it doesn't make sense because the Asael spoiler is there.
What?
So
Okay, I've
I
read
mean,
this
it's not
book
a
twice.
spoiler per se, but
Yeah, not really a spoiler.
something happens in a sale which has ramifications, and that is kind of explored here. Once you read a sale, it's apparent what we're talking about, so it will be apparent. So yeah, there were a lot of callbacks, and not just in terms of events that happened before, the way they talk, the things they use while speaking, even the words they use for swearing. There were a lot of things which were familiar,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
although the new words they use, poor Eskarjarak, yeah, that was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there were a lot of other callbacks as well. I can't remember off the top
No,
of
I
my head, but yes, I do get what you're saying. There is a new relationship between the reader and the author here, because we have journeyed throughout the Book of the Fallen, all the 10 books, and we know how the world is like. We know a lot of things, and Steve gets to play around with that. And I think in the excerpt itself, he said he was looking forward to using this knowledge to surprise the reader in ways that we may not expect, or something like that, something along those
yeah,
lines.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in NLF as well. So yeah, I do agree there were a lot of callbacks to the original books.
Yeah. No, I particularly like the unloved woman, the ritual of
Hmm.
two women facing each other with one fully armored, and the whole thing was played out, isn't it? House of Chains, at the end of House of Chains.
Yep.
That is interesting. So that has become common knowledge now. So Tavor is not exactly safe from the knowledge that she killed Felicin,
Yeah,
right?
the four is not
Yeah.
unwitnessed. Hey,
Sorry.
the four is not unwitnessed.
Anymore. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that is true. Yeah. So,
Yeah, that was a nice reference, and I guess that this means that finally Tabor has ascended. Yes?
probably,
No?
yeah. I think so.
Yeah, yeah. When I was reading The Crippled God, you should ask Lee. I broke my mind over this. I could not understand how Tabor did not ascend, because the way she was portrayed, the way all the soldiers had so much faith in her, it was similar to worshippers worshipping their god or something like that. I mean, it was similar to Coltane in Dead House Gates, where all of the refugees, his soldiers, all of them had placed their faith in him, and he eventually ascended. So I just,
May I interject here a little bit?
yeah, yeah, go on.
So you may have noticed, I think, that there's a cult about Coltane in this book, right?
Yeah.
The Black Winged Lord. In I think it might be the House Gates. There is a quote from Nether, the warlock, that says that we Wiccans do not ascend, we reincarnate, we return. So whatever they're worshipping, whatever that thing has become, is not Coltane, because well, for one, Coltane's out there right now, reborn on the plains. We saw him in Return to the Crimson Guard. He's somewhere out there. So whatever this being is sort of like a traveler December situation where they're not the same person. And so
Oh.
I'm
Because
just
they're split,
saying,
isn't it? The mortal and immortal might be split.
if there is a god that exists as the personification of the Black Winged Lord, then yes.
And can I say there are two black winged lords?
Which is awfully confusing for no reason. But,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully we don't see much of it, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And
Oh, we do
that's
technically see
makes
both
sense.
of them in this book, don't we?
Yeah.
Sorry?
We do see both Drake and the other cult of the Blackwing Lord, so
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
both of them are there.
What did you think of Rake's cameo?
I mean, I was not expecting it at all, and it was amazing. And I love Drake. His presence. Whenever he's there on screen, or on page or whatever, whenever he's there, you just know, you just feel him there. He has such a strong presence that it spreads out around him almost like an aura. And I missed it, especially in the last two books, after Rake died. I mean, that ending in Toll the Hounds, that was amazing, no doubt about that, but I did miss Rake in the last two books, and getting him back here for a cameo, it was fantastic, especially because I had no idea at all.
Yeah, yeah. That blindsided
Yeah.
me too. Like we were not expecting that. How was it for you, Lee?
So this might sound cynical, but I was never like the biggest Drake fan. Okay, I didn't like. I was attached, sure, but I'm a Dassam guy, and when they do have to fight, I have to pick Dassam over Rake. So, and I had finished OST by then, obviously, so I was much more into like Dassam and whatnot. And Rake's legacy had fallen a bit behind me, and I hadn't read Karkanas yet, so I didn't really have much time. Then he disappeared. I'm like, oh, so huh.
Okay.
And the problem I had was well, not necessarily a problem. I think this is the intention that most of this happens within Banger's like Malkra dream thing. So
Oh
it's not
yeah.
clear how much of this is well, not how much of this is real, since all of it's basically an illusion, but the effects in it on the world and what it means for Banger and for Anix and for Sardalis and for Rake aren't clear. Is Rake out there? Is he actually being chased? Is he alive? Is he dead? Is his essence dispersed into the winds? Did Mother Dark bring him back for some fucking reason? Is he actually being hunted? But don't know. There's no answer in the book, which is a bit frustrating, but it could also just be something Banger made up because, well, what better thing than the guy that protected Janabagi for decades became a Lord of Black Coral and then sacrificed himself for the greater good to heal a woman that's really traumatized. Well, I would say Kovian, but I'm not Banger, am I? So, yeah, there's that.
Oh, you would have preferred a Redeemer cameo rather than.
Not necessarily a cameo, but if you're going to like try and fix someone's mental state, might as well conjure the guy whose literal job is to take away their pain.
No, see, at that point they were trying to, what do you call, destroy the blood oil within her. It was not about healing her. Yeah.
I didn't remember. It's been
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
So the specific details go that way. That when they're trying to heal her, he imagines the blood oil core within her as the sun, and so they need a dragon to swallow the sun or something, and that's when they call Rake. Can I say I was slightly disappointed to see Rake? I mean, I'm happy he's there, but once I cry over a character, I don't want to see them back. Do you get that? Because that is the same problem I have with like Relish coming back and all that. Like once you're done mourning, I don't know. It feels somewhat. It feels weird to have them back. But I'll accept that he was probably just a shade of a shade or something like that.
Yeah, I get that. The main event back in Toll the Hounds now, it feels like it loses some value because he's back here.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I understand that. And my take on that entire healing scene was, I mean, it reminded me of that quote from Dumbledore, the one I mentioned before. Of course, it's happening inside your head, Harry, but why on earth should it mean that it's not real? So, what I
yeah,
my interpretation was, Wenger used Mokra to give substance, and he gave substance to the mental landscape of Sarlis,
yeah,
her essence, her soul, and using Mokra, he kind of created a place. He made it into a reality in probably some temporary way where it was, it was easy to visualize her mental landscape, and there was a river going by, and the river was what I believe to be the something that represented her soul, her essence, and it was, in a way, it was tainted with the blood oil, which was a part of her at that moment. And I think that he then used Hydenol to, he used it as a sieve or something to get rid of the blood oil from her soul. There were a lot of bodies of Sarlis which went and crashed into some rocks, and only one of them was left at the end, and that one Benger pulled from the river, and he lifted her into, he lifted the blood oil with its otitaral core from her, and he cast it aside in the air. And yeah, I think he used Hydenol as a sieve that way. And I think that was a very, that was a really poignant scene. It was written beautifully. I liked it and I enjoyed it. But the one problem I have with that, the
yeah.
Marines, they escaped without consequences. I mean, I don't want to get into that right now. Maybe we'll get back to that later
No,
because I don't want to rant.
he is
And
the Mountain
speaking of
Marine.
rant, maybe we
Fucking
can talk
possibly.
about rant. Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, no, we can talk about Rancer.
So yeah, Rant I think was probably the best character in this book, at least in my opinion. That's what I felt. He was in some ways. I mean, his journey was intentionally. It resembled Karsa's own journey back in House of Chains, and there were a lot of similarities actually, not just in terms of his growth, but also the people who accompanied him. I mean, Karsa had Bayreuth killed and Delum Thord. I mean, I know you guys say Delum, right? I guess I
Yeah,
prefer Delum.
right.
Karsa had Bayreuth and Delum, and Rant has who was
Fake
it?
and
Delas Fana and Wake Guild. And then Karsa had Torvald Nom, and that was a guy who kept talking all the time, too many words. And despite that, it was Torvald who saved Karsa in a way, where it was Torvald's incessant, talkative nature that his all that he said. That was the only thing that kept him sane when he was chained,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the only thing that he clung on to Torvald's voice and somehow managed to retain his sanity, even though he was chained for months or something, or weeks. And likewise, in case of Rant, we have Damask, who saves Rant's life by giving him that, he. It's almost like birth of a second life for Rant when Damask saves him from the lake. And Damask was also someone who was, he was living by himself, and then when he got some company, he was talking all the time. So Damask is kind of, there's a parallel between Damask and Torvald. And then Torvald leaves Karsa. Likewise, Damask dies and leaves Rant. And in case of Karsa, Torvald was replaced by Leomen. And in case of Rant, it's Gavar and Nilgan. So there are a lot of similarities, intentional similarities between those two characters, and in some ways, you could almost say that Grant is Karsa light or something. Yeah, but there are a lot of differences too. So what do you think?
Yeah, this is a. I didn't think of the parallels here, so that's interesting. Do you have any parallel for the assassin in his knife 3?
I guess the spirits in Karsa's sword, Bayrod Delum. I mean, that's about it, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
And what else is there between similarities between Rant and Karsa? Yeah, Karsa was able to uh, garner a lot of loyalty. I mean,
yeah,
he was able to do that quite easily, and that has been passed down to Rant in some way, even with the Teblor dogs, especially Norse Brood. They were
yeah.
all fiercely loyal to Rant, and it was all due to Karsa. I don't know. He managed to gain Norse loyalty, and that carried down to Rant. And there was something else, some other similarity that I noticed, but I can't seem
Yeah,
to
even
remember right now.
the Jack Lords decide to, uh, defend him against the rest of the Teblor, isn't it? Just because he just induces this loyalty within them, and yeah, so that was very similar to Karsa, but he
Yeah,
also starts gathering. That's what someone says, that you started gathering souls into your wake, just like all the other Teblor and all that.
yeah. In a way, Rant's journey is more or less Karsa's journey, but inside one book. At
Hmm.
least it's building up to be that way. But I think Rant also is different from Karsa in one main, in one, what do you call it? The main difference is basically Rant is not willing to kill people. He wants to save as many as he can, whereas I don't think Karsa gave a fuck. I mean, if someone annoyed him, off goes their head. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think that was what he inherited from his mother. The kindness which Karsa, I'm not sure Karsa is kind, but he could be gentle at times. But in case of Rant, it was more pronounced. It was more evident. What do you think?
Lee?
Oh boy. Well, in the case of Karsa, there is a case of kindness when he rescues Samar in the Bone Hunters, under threat perhaps of curse, but no, it's after
Calm.
House of Chains.
Even
Samar,
saving
Samar,
Calm.
and I wouldn't say saving calm is kindness. It's more of a reverence because, well, look at this being and how she's entrustly. Because it's more like it's weird with calm.
Calm.
I
It's
think
kind
maybe
of weird.
I used the wrong word here. Sorry for the interruption, but I think instead of kindness, maybe innocence would be a better word for Rant.
Yeah, Rant.
There's a lot
Rant
of
is innocent.
words
There
that can
is.
describe Rand. Yeah, I mean, there is that scene with Gower and go like shit, which I
Yeah.
think
Oh
Erickson
my
said
god.
is the
Yeah.
only thing that could have worked for him. Like he tried a lot of different combinations of words, and then said, yeah, "No, I'm selling to this." Uh, he is like what, like 14, 13, 15 tops by his own accord,
Hmm.
which Karsa when he left was 80. So
Yeah.
there are some differences, obviously. The less obvious differences are as to how he approaches the world, because, well, differences in culture and their upbringing, because, well, Karsa, I've said before, is the quintessential Teblor warrior. When he sets off, he's like the Teblor warrior. He is going down to the lowlanders to raid and slay 1,000 children and get trophies and bring glory and take the girl. Rand
Yeah.
is basically just the village outcast, the pariah, the kid that gets rocks around him all the time and then thinks they're playing. Innocence is, I think, the best word to describe him, but there's also, well, obviously there's inherent kindness to Rand. And I don't want to get too deep into the whole time travel thing at the end because that's just confusing. I don't particularly love Star Wheel. Um, it's a choice.
The whole time
It's
travel thing,
weird.
you don't like it?
Well, it was used in the Book of the Fallen somewhat like the Aerosol, but the Aerosol was much more of a supporting character that, kind of like the Errant, like nudges and supports things indirectly, where this is just, okay, well, I fucked it up once, I'm not gonna fuck it up twice. Uh, with like War Bitch and Rand at the end, if you remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I didn't love that scene because it's difficult to make work, but that does not take away from the fact that Rand is still a great character as he's written. And to be fair, he was like the only part of the Teblor storyline I actually cared about. Like, I didn't much care. Well, there's also Delos. I like Delos, but like Doneth or Sal or Sathal or Alade or whatever, I didn't care. Honestly, he died, and I was like, yeah, whatever, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I was seeing Ro, going on about Satal's parentage and all that, and then yeah, she was hardly on the page, so probably
Yeah.
that's why I never bothered thinking about it. Yeah, sorry, go on.
And at the end of the day, Rand's relationship with both the Misk and Three, I think, are what really define him. Because, okay, Gower and Nilkan are there. They're supporting him. Nilkan is this sort of almost Karsa-like figure,
Oh no,
Like
no,
the... No?
No.
Oh, at least in, like, the
no.
way he challenged... Not in the sense that...
Oh, he's just a fun guy.
What's
Please,
Rand?
Neilgan is a
He's a fun
fun.
guy.
There's nothing of Carson. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
You remember, like, Karsa early on where he was constantly vowing that people are his enemies and, like, and boasting all the time? That's Nilkan, but more in a
No, the
comic way
difference
rather
is
than...
no, the difference is Karsa
Yes.
meant all the woes he made, whereas Neilgan, everyone knows that he's just
Uh,
he's just showing off. He's just
well,
challenging his brother
yeah.
for the fun of it, just because he can, and nobody takes him seriously. I think that's a huge difference.
I mean, I think it's like it depends on how seriously you're going to take Karsa, I guess. But yeah, I suppose it's a bit of a
Hmm.
ham-fisted analogy. Anyway, Gower is much more of a father figure to him, so is the Misk. Three
Yeah.
is complicated because, well, Three is a Shigal assassin, and I have no fucking idea what that means for the story. So, uh, um, I have quite a few thoughts on Rant, and one of the main things being like the blood curse thing. That's yikes.
Wasn't that a cool name? I didn't expect
It
Rand
was a
Blood
cool
Curse.
name, but like the origin of the story of the name, and like if there's a demon enemy, it's called Blood Oil. All that just poignant, sad, not
Yeah, yeah.
epic.
So he uses it like he takes it up as his name, isn't it? I think that was
I
great.
mean, I didn't say it's a bad thing. I think it's a cool story. It's a cool plot line. I'm just saying it's sad and it's
Yeah.
But like I said, I didn't pay much attention to the Teblor storyline in my read through, so I'll leave it to you. I defer to you, Maura, if
No, I want to know
there's
what
more to be
Ro
said.
thought of the time travel plot. What did you think, Ro?
Um, it was, as Lee said, confusing, but the one thing that stood out to me from that whole scene was Grant gathering all the anger from the Teblor children or all the other Teblor, his kin. He somehow gathered it all to himself, and he essentially used that to help Warbitch prevent the flood from, just destroying the land. And
Yeah.
they somehow slowed down the flow of water and ensured that everyone got out alive. So that part was interesting because you guys know that I read that comment in Steve's AMA, and which was a spoiler, which basically said Rant is the shield anvil of the shattered god or something. So
What's
when I initially, yeah, you don't remember? I've brought it up so many times before.
No, I thought that you came up with that. I don't know that there was a comment with someone else
No,
mentioning. Okay.
no, okay. So what happened was during that AMA, I accidentally opened a spoiler question where someone wanted to know whether Rant was the shield anvil of the Shattered God. So at that time, I had no idea who Rant was, and as far as I knew, the Shattered God was Kamen's. So I was like, oh no, these guys still have not left him in peace. Like, why? And that was what I was thinking back then. And now I came to realize that the Shattered God is not the crippled god. That guy is probably chilling out in his own world somewhere, hopefully, and it's actually Karsa. And the way Rand gathered all the anger, and I think that was the basis for that theory or whatever question that person had. It was similar in a way to what Itkovian did. He gathered all the what did he gather, Lee? I think you should know. In memory suffice.
Uh,
The suffering,
Yeah,
the pain
More
of
like the
everyone,
memories
and
and took away the grief of it. Yeah.
and then he released it into the land and gave life to the new Warren or something that Krupp created, right?
yeah,
Right?
not Krupp created. It was, I think, a part of
I think it was a
Tellan.
Talon, no?
Talent,
Tellan.
yeah.
Yeah.
Silver Fox created it, isn't it?
Yeah, so
Pretty
something,
sure.
all three of them did something, I don't know,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, likewise here Rand did something similar. He took all their anger, all their pain probably, and
Hmm.
used it to he channeled it to for some other purpose, which was very interesting. And we don't know how he did it. We don't know if he's using a Warren or I don't know. It's not clear. And from the whole time travel plot, that was the thing that stood out to me. And I think that that has some significance, and it will have some significance in the future as well. But
No,
apart from that, yeah,
yeah.
go on.
No, I thought that was something you came up with, and when I was reading, I was very impressed that yeah, it does look like he's a shield anvil because it makes sense. But the whole time travel thing, at least in the second time, I really liked it. It made a lot of sense
Really.
because yeah, it does. In the sense, it's not like he just goes and saves himself because it wasn't all that worrisome. The flood itself, and Warbitch was about to die, right? So all it does is go saves her, and in turn reduces the flow of the flood. The time travel has to happen because all those animals have to die, and these guys get to feed. So that's why it happens backwards and forwards, so that there is some food available before they start migrating south. So
Right.
it made a lot of sense.
Oh,
And he uses all this power, the pain and suffering, to boost her sorcery, to boost Warbitch's powers, to hold back the flood. So that's all he uses it for. It's not like I don't think he acts as a Warren or anything. He just weaponizes his anger,
I
right?
mean, there
And
was the Warren Star Wheel. I think that was
was
what
it?
was
Does it come up
used.
there?
No, but
Okay.
Star Wheel
I'm
is the
No,
assuming
that
time
it's
travel
Star Will
one.
is
Yeah.
to yeah move in time, isn't it? That's what three uses to take him there.
yeah.
Yeah, but the actual like stopping the flood, you know giving his strength to Warbitch's power. I think that's what he draws from all the suffering from all the other children.
Yeah, that I don't think that was a Warren. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And was it a
One of the,
sort of sorry? Just one thing. I do you think that that was three who took him to meet Warbitch?
yes.
Because
Yeah.
Hmm.
it seems like three, but then she hasn't spoken once she's gone into the knife for the entire book, and
3
now all
takes
of a
him back
sudden,
there, and then Rand just does the whole thing. Like, okay, I'm gonna take it to witness,
yeah.
and
But
then
I'm just
Rand.
saying that
The text says Rand didn't. 3 didn't expect this, what would happen next.
Hmm.
no, she knows
So
to take
whatever's
him
happening
there.
with Rand.
No, I'm just saying that that may not be three's voice is what I'm saying because she once she's gone into the knife, she supposedly loses her voice. She even tells him that she'll not be able to talk to him again. So why is she talking to him all of a sudden, being inside the knife? I don't know.
Oh, good grief! I don't
Uh,
remember any of this.
sorry.
What I
I
do
mean,
remember,
Yeah.
what I do remember, the the last thought that Borbich has before Rand saves her is, well, at least I'll get a good fuck in before I die.
Oh,
So yeah,
I mean,
these are
it's
the things that I
the
remember,
Lord of
not the important.
Blackjack Gover. So can you blame her?
Anyhow,
I
yeah.
think it was three. I think it was three only, not someone else or
Hmm.
anything. Because wait, trying to find it. Can't.
No, he knows that it is three. He thinks it's three, But I just have some reservation that maybe it's not her. Maybe I don't.
Oh, so at that point, all of them were gonna die, including Rand. And maybe
Yeah,
Three wanted to save him alone, like take his spirit alone to some other spirit realm or whatever. Star used, I don't know what she used. She just wanted to
it's
do something.
no, it's what you call that, the a time loop which is closed or something, because he is saved ultimately and he has to go back in time to save himself. So there is
Retro
no other
causality.
outcome for this. Sorry.
Retro causality.
Okay.
What?
Yeah. Fine. Retro causality. Yeah.
That's what it's called. It's a concept of cause and effect in which an effect precedes its cause in time, and so later events affect an earlier one. So because he was saved at the end, he has to go back to save himself.
Yeah. Save himself. So that's why three has to take him back, because I don't know. There is no. That's the way it was
Which
supposed to happen.
I
Yeah.
think retro causality is the way that the Eris travels as well. So it's self-consistent, but
Mm.
I'm not forced to like it because it's consistent.
No, it was quite fine. It quite gelled with the story when I read it now. So
Hmm.
Hmm.
this is
So
something.
wait,
Yeah, yeah. Go on, go
Cash,
on.
you said you had some idea behind Three's name.
Name.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It- yeah.
See, right, because Rand, when he leaves Silver Lake, he meets. I mean, he knows only his mother till then, and then he
Mm-hmm.
meets Damask. After
Uh-huh.
Damask, he meets whom? Gover, right? He kills.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Gover, whatever. And then he meets three, because he names it three because that is the third person he's met outside home. So it's Damis, Gover, and then three. That's the theory I have. And
You're
it's only
probably
after
right.
that he meets Neil Gunn,
You should run it by
Yeah.
your friend, your buddy.
my buddy. Yeah, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
It makes sense, isn't it? Like, I have one friend, now I have two friends, and now, yeah, you're number three.
I mean, yeah, that's something Rand would do.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Okay. So Rant was quite interesting, right? So do
Hmm.
you have a theory on why he is bigger than all the other Teblor he meets, who are older than him and who are almost like full-blooded, and he's only half-blood? Why do you think he's bigger? Do you have any theories?
Lee?
Lee doesn't
No clue.
remember. So
I mean, yeah, I remember. I noticed it. I found it. I was surprised, and it was there was no clue, or it was left in an open-ended manner. Like I don't know.
I
Uh,
I think that the way this new factor about blood oil, that there is a wave going back and forth. So he's been having this connection with Karsa, who is now a god. So probably the blood oil just boosts his powers, maybe. But then that should happen the same with this one, isn't it? With his daughters, with his full-blooded Teblor daughters. I don't know, but maybe because he has a human component, the blood oil just stays longer. Maybe I don't have a theory. I'm just guessing here. But that is
yeah,
interesting to note that even with the half blood, still young for a Teblor, he's bigger than all the rest.
yeah. There was this connection between Rand, Sarlis, and Karsa. They were talking about when they were healing her, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that works, and uh, yeah, as you said, the other two kids, Delasfana, Tonetagra, they don't have uh any issues with blood oil or anything like that. And even though Karsa, he did use blood oil when he raped those ratted women, right?
No, he did not use
No,
blood oil
he
then.
didn't. No.
Oh, okay, okay, then yeah, that's probably why. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I don't know. There maybe there is some reason for it, or maybe he just has good genes.
Could be. Could be. Since we brought up our boy, right, and you two remember much more than
Who's
I
your
do.
boy?
Well, your boy, not mine. Definitely not mine. The titular god who's not
Every
willing,
episode we have
or
one
so
who is
long.
called my boy. Who is this now?
I mean, it's Karsa,
Yeah.
Karsa.
right? I think you two are
Okay.
the biggest Karsa fans I know, so might as well.
Really?
I don't know many people.
Okay. No, no, I did not know that Ro was a big Karsa fan. Hi, Ro.
Hey. I mean, yeah, I love Karsa and I love the journey. I love his journey from House of Chains to the Crippled God, where he grows and he learns from his mistakes. I don't know, it was cathartic at some points where you'd expect Karsa from House of Chains to, just be arrogant and use his sword for everything, but towards the end, towards the end of Toll the Hounds and Crippled God, he was more he was tempered by wisdom. He was influenced by all that he had learned and all that he had, especially in what was that place? In House of Chains. No, he was in oh shit, I forgot that place.
What?
That
No, no.
desert. What's it called? He was with Shaik.
Jagodan?
No,
Oh,
the other one.
Raraku.
Oh yeah, yeah, that one. I can't believe how I forgot that Baraku. So yeah, he was there, and I think it was in that place that he learned a lot off screen because he was there for an extended period of time, almost like a year or more than that, and that was the place where he had access to resources, to knowledge, to other mages, even Shaik and her elder Shaik and her foretelling. And I think he learned a lot about his own life, the Teblor, and the other person he met, the Jagat he met, Aranala or something. I don't remember.
Aramala.
Yeah, and the conversations he had with her, I think uh all of that wisdom he gained. I loved seeing the way he grew from an arrogant boy to a comparatively wiser man and an ascendant. Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of that.
Yes, Lee, I think you're about to make a point about Karsa. Go on.
I'm detecting a bit of pang of regret here that Karsa doesn't appear in the book.
Sorry?
I am detecting a slight pang of regret that Karsa is not in this book.
Yeah.
So,
It's not gonna be there in
mm,
MF either. Damn it.
so do you guys want to talk about this? About Karsa's unwillingness?
Unwillingness. Yeah, I mean, is it a surprise? Because he's been rejecting godhood and ascendancy and being chained to believers and all that. He's been rejecting that from forever. So,
Mm-hmm.
no surprise that he continues to do that. No surprise that he continues to not lead anyone. He's no longer anyone's war leader. He appears in someone's vision. Warlock, I believe, who thinks of Karsa. What would be his answer, and he guesses what could be his answer. And this is what he thinks, that you people who come in front of me, you're still slaves, and I don't want to be a god of slaves or something like that. So
Yeah,
it
only
makes,
gods know the meaning of freedom, Valak. All before
yeah,
me is in chains. I am not the god of slaves. I will not be the god of slaves. By my
yeah.
power, I can see the invisible chains around all of you, your claims of freedom notwithstanding. And so, Valak, I ask you in turn, what will it take to be worthy of my regard?
Oh God, yeah, yeah, that was a good one. So, to no one's surprise that he's unwilling, and he continues to be
Mm-hmm.
unwilling in the next book also. So it's not a surprise, but
Yeah, yeah, and there is this thing he says, only gods know the meaning of freedom. So you had something to say about that, Lee?
There is a quote in chapter 10, 8 something of the Crippled God, which goes thusly. Does he, the crippled god, belong? Wait, no. He, such as ruin, belong in the war. He is dangerous. We don't want him anywhere near us when we slay the fallen one. When we feed and so free ourselves. Free, growled in a thick, heavy voice. More, from the legacy of our followers, we shall never be free. This is the bargain we made. I made no such bargain, December. Nevertheless, Beru, mortal desire gave us shape. Mortal desire dragged us into all the realms. It was not enough that we ascended, not enough that we should seek out our own destinies. I tell you, the most of me still walks a distant world, and his house of betrayal deafened me. In curse and prayer, I am knotted here like a fist. Do I desire worship? I do not. Do I seek ever greater power? I have been shown its futility, and now all my purpose settles like ash upon my soul. Here we are, trapped, and so shall we remain. There is this notion of worship being a two-way street. That yes, worshippers give gods power, but worshippers also morph and create gods, and so which is one of the reasons I think Shadow Throne's priests are all crazy because Shadow Throne's very selective in his priesthood. Like Past and Sordico were a bit less than sane, but Karsa doesn't have a priesthood. There's no ritual dedicated to Karsa. There is no, um, collective worship. It's all what was left from his legacy and what the Teblor remember of his legacy, which morphs their belief and their view of Karsa, which I think is best exemplified when his daughters visit him and I think Dallas remembers a few of the episodes and how horrible and how she couldn't stand Karsa because he was unbearable.
yeah.
because the Karsa that now resides in the Urgistan is very, very different from the Karsa that left the Teblor later on Plateau 15 years ago. But to the Teblor, he's the same person, but he's clearly not. And so I think, obviously, since Valok thinks this, he probably doesn't know any better because, well, gods probably wouldn't tell their worshippers that, yeah, I am your, I am yours to create and morph. But this notion that only gods know the essence of freedom has been rejected before by actual gods in the Book of the Fallen, and I see no reason why that would change. So this is the essence of why Karsa is unwilling that you mentioned, because well, he's rejected the notion of chains, and if worshippers bind him with chains, metaphorically, he's not going to like that. He doesn't want that, and moreover, I don't think he wants to be worshipped for the things that he's done, for the things rapes, the pillaging, the children slaying, all of that.
You know,
He's moved on from that. So yeah.
it sort of should remind us of people like Rake, who also rejected godhood, right? Rake was an
Mhm.
ascendant, but people tried to worship him as long as, even when he was alive, and he did not allow it or something. Isn't it similar here? Like, what changes with Karsa? Karsa is considered a god, whereas Rake was never considered a god. Is there some difference?
I don't know. I
I
mean,
don't know.
the Taistandi in
Blue Rose.
Lether, they did consider Drake to be their god, the Blackwing Lord, and all that, the cult in Blue Rose. But I don't
Hmm.
know.
The difference, I
Yeah.
think, is that many of the Andi that were born in, what we see, were there in Kirkana's time, like Spinnock or Endist or his brothers or Corlat, were there. They knew him from before they were rejected by Mother Dark, before they were cast away,
Uh,
before,
um,
yes,
yeah, yeah. Let's not bring too much of Karkanas here.
I'm, I'm not
Yeah,
bringing
yeah.
the
I'm
Karkana
just
stuff here. I'm just saying that they knew him from before, from when, well, the Andi were still in Mother Dark's favor, before Moonspawn became a thing, before they went on to be mercenaries or whatever the fuck they are, fighting for their own freedom. Uh, the Andi and Blue Rose never met Rake. The Andara and Andi
Hmm.
don't know Rake. They know Silcast, because Silcast brought them here, but they've never met Rake.
Wait,
They
what?
only
What?
know of Rake in legends.
they never met Rake.
Well, maybe they met him, but not Clip was 19. Like, yeah, that's what I mean. Like Clip would certainly not know Rake. Similarly, Dalis knows Karsa. Dalis knows what Karsa's deal is, and she's not necessarily apprehensive of the worship of the Shattered God, but she knows more of Karsa than pretty much anyone else. Elaid despises the guy because he killed his entire tribe, basically.
Yeah.
Um, his daughters barely know him because they are begat of rape, and they've met him like a few times, and they hate his guts because he's unbearable in his philosophical ramblings.
Oh, they do not mention anything about ramblings. Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember what they mentioned. The point is, they don't really like the guy. That's what I mean. Uh, and so the only thing that's left for Teblor is the legacy and legends that he left behind. The raid on Silver Lake, the Tobla guy of Seven Cities. If they even know of that, which they probably don't, I don't even think they know about Torvald or any of that. Like, the legacy that Karts has left behind to the Teblor is vastly different from the legacy he's left behind to us. To us, it's vastly more impressive because we've seen his entire journey from like House of Chains to Toll the Hounds, where he's gone on a tear through like 3 different continents and done a whole lot of shit. To them, he's just a guy that raided Silver Lake, came back after a long time, and said, "Okay, I'm going to destroy civilization now. Who will join me?"
Yeah.
So there is a very obvious discrepancy between what Karsa wants and what the Teblor want, or need in this case. And I've talked about this and I've touched upon this, but before we get to that, I would have your thoughts first.
About.
Karsa and his worship as the Shattered God.
Well,
Go on, bro.
I don't know. Karza in Toll the Hounds, I mean, he was very specific in that he wanted companions, not followers, and that is probably one of the reasons why he's stuck. He wants them to come to him as friends for. I mean, he's also stuck because he doesn't know how to fulfill the vow, but he doesn't. He wants them free of all chains, but I think that they will still be bound by chains in the manner that Valok describes. They were all bound by chains of vengeance, even though they were free. The Teblor as a tribe, what they want may not be what Karsa wants, and I think that there is potential for a conflict there. And but then I don't know how many Teblor are still alive. That's there. So apart from that, I don't
I
have much to add regarding the concept of worship and how Karsa treats it, apart from what you have already mentioned, Lee. So
Mhm.
Yeah, the surviving Teblor, isn't it like clear that the main army, the one which was led by Eled and which had Dalis and the rest, isn't it's like clear that the whole thing was washed away, isn't it? The whole army was washed
Yeah,
away
yeah, yeah.
because they were on the west side, right? And it was the
yeah,
small group of Rathid who accompanied the Samedi and came to Silver Lake, to this side of the lake, and the ones who were downstream from the forest, and those are the Teblor who survived, is what I thought, isn't it?
uh, I think some of them did make it out alive because wait, there was this scene when the Marines are defending them and
Oh boy.
yeah, I
You
shouldn't.
know what? Because it's been an hour, I think we'll just stick to the Teblor storyline here and call the Marine storyline as part two. Can we do something like that?
Yeah,
Sure. Works
yeah,
for
that
me.
works. But I would just like to mention one point.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
towards the end of that chapter with the chapter where Eleitaros and all of his warriors, all of them are annihilated by the flood. Towards the end, it's mentioned that the world darkens suddenly. Epiphanos heard screams, curses, and all light vanished basically. And I think that towards the end, someone might have taken her into a warren or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Is
not.
that
I'm
the
not
way?
sure.
Okay.
Hmm?
No, no. The is that the way you saw that scene? Because I
Yeah,
thought that she just went. She just died.
I don't know. You could be right. So it's there's nothing clear. There's nothing to show that they did survive. And yeah, you might be right, but I don't know. I saw it that way. I saw at least a few of them. Definitely, not much. Only a few. Very few of them could have possibly escaped it through Warrens, maybe Tonitagra, because we don't know what happened to her. And I just hope some of them escaped. I guess.
I'm just very sure that Elaid, Tonith, Satal, the whole bunch of them have died, and it's only Peik and the other one, Delas Fena, or what, however you say it, and a few, a handful of Rathids are the only ones who are surviving still, and yeah. So that's what I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So we don't know how many will go down to Darujistan. So that's left to be. That's we can't expect anything until book three.
Yeah.
I think.
Do you guys want to talk about Damask?
Okay. No. Yeah. But before that, a few small points I wanted to talk
Sure,
about
sure.
Satal and her parentage.
Yeah.
You guys have any idea?
I
Ah,
think it's. Yeah, go on, Lee. Do you have some idea?
well, at the Resident Village, there were 33 women and 3 guys, so, you know.
Yeah, that was my point too. That it must be one of the 11 because I mean, it was like a what pregnancy rate of 3 out of 11. So that's all I think.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I
Very
don't know.
potent
I
seed.
just
Sorry,
yeah.
Lee.
Very potent seed Garza has.
I mean, it's just
The seed is
fine. Yeah,
strong.
we are not going to. No, no, no. I don't want to comment on 3 out of 11. Is it's all right. It's maybe average. I don't know.
If Summer doesn't have any unexpected pregnancies yet, maybe it's not a strong seed. Who knew?
She is a science girl. She's a STEM girl. She knows contraceptives. She knows how to use it.
All right, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess as a reader, I just want some significance to be there. In case when it comes to Satal's parentage, like who the mother was. I don't know. It's just a
Because
me thing, I guess.
she has this blue eyes or something, which is odd for a
Yeah,
Teblor and all that. Yeah.
and red hair. I think. Yeah, red
Don't
hair.
don't we have that row? Because here, if someone has a different colored eyes or something, don't we all? They just stand out among us.
I
That's
mean,
that's the way I
blue
saw.
eyes,
Not
blue
blue,
eyes and
but
red hair.
there are like towards Mangalore, there are quite a few reddish tinge to their hair and freckles and all that. There are I've had classmates like that, and they always stand out. So maybe
I
that's the
have
way I
no
saw.
idea. But blue eyes and red hair, and someone being in a place where they shouldn't be. That rings some bells, Lee.
Who is? Oh, is this something to do with Wheel of Time?
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Anyway, coming back to this, there's one more point I want to talk about before we move on to Damask, and that is Karsa's father, Sinig. Now,
yeah.
this is just my theory, and I think that he is not dead. I mean, I don't know about the grandfather, Falk, was it? Falk? Something, Falk,
Paul,
whatever.
Paul, yeah.
Yeah,
Park.
I
That's
don't
the
know
guy
about
I
that
thought
guy.
was Pake. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
I think he's probably dead, but I don't think Sinig is dead. I think he got banished for being the father of the Shattered God or something. And
What?
this is just my theory. There is no evidence. Let me tell you that. This is just my. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Go
don't
on. Go on.
have any. Yeah, I don't have any evidence. I'm just telling you what I think might be the case. And there was this scene. I swear there was this scene where Rant wakes up or something, and there was someone watching him who then walks away. I was trying to find it right before we started this recording, but
That was Elaid when he wakes up the next morning.
that was
Uh,
Alade.
that's how I read that. Yeah, just outside the Ring of Fire, who watches him because I thought Elaid would have killed him in his sleep and his knife wakes him up or something. That's the way I saw that scene.
Oh, I didn't know it was Alade. I don't remember any description of who that character was,
There
and
was no description. Yeah,
yeah, so
like
I kind of assumed that it was, Cynic who got banished and who couldn't interact with the Teblor anymore, but then he came close to Rand just to see his grandson and then he went off again. That's what I thought.
mhm.
It's probably far-fetched, I know, but
No,
yeah.
didn't the knife wake him up? Isn't that how he got up or something? Because three would have warned him that this guy is watching you and might cut your throat when you sleep or something. So that's the way I saw that scene. Paige thinks of sinning a couple of times in the past tense, isn't it? Like
Past tense?
past tense maybe is a stretch, but she thinks that it was his father. He rode his father's what do you call war horses and all that.
Yeah, I mean,
So
yeah, it was past tense in the sense that Cynic wasn't there with them anymore, but it does not tell us that Cynic is dead.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's nice to see your optimism, bro. But yeah, I don't. Right. Any other Teblor stood out to you? What about wasn't Elaid like a sort of a dick ultimately? Because in the prologue, I had some high hopes about this guy. I thought he is being sensible and trying to lead. He says this is a migration. We have to go south and all that. And then he turns out to be quite small-minded regarding Rant and Karsa and the whole thing.
You know
What
what?
did you
You're
think
right.
of?
Yeah, I agree with you. In the prologue, he was, I mean, he gave me the impression that he knew what he was doing, and in some ways, he reminded me of Karsa himself because while Karsa did brag, while Karsa was arrogant, he had brains. He was smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knew how to, back his words, and that was the impression this guy gave me. Elite gave me in the prologue because he did seem considerate of many factors and the usual bad guy arrogance or all of them they open their mouths and they spew out a whole lot of shit but then they die the next scene, right? Most of them in Malazan. And that was not the impression Elite gave me. Elite,
Yeah.
to me, he felt that he had a plan. He was totally, he was clouded by his desire to face Karsa and exact vengeance for what Karsa did to him and his family. But apart from that, he did seemed kind of sensible, and I was hoping that there was more to his story. But looks like he's dead, and another
No,
vow Karsa made cannot be fulfilled.
no, I thought Elaid was sort of sensible until he met Rant, maybe. Because Rant reminded him of Karsa in a more, more
Yeah,
in his face type of way, and he can't take it. And if I remember that scene where Karsa cuts through the whole Rathid runaways, this of which Elaid was a part, it was
Hmm.
like he intentionally left Elaid alone.
Yeah,
Like he
absolutely.
let him escape, and that should rankle him a lot more than if he had just survived. He was allowed to live by Karsa, and that's probably why he hates him that much. Maybe.
yeah. I think he was envious of Karsa's skill, maybe deep down somewhere.
Yeah, envious and that irritation that he lives because this guy allowed him to leave, to run away and all that.
Mm.
Maybe.
Like how it must gall him. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So Lee, what did you think of Cynic? Do you think he's still alive?
Could be. There is that prophecy that Sinnig spouts to Bulk at the end of House of Chains, book 1, chapter 1, number 1, where he says that neither of them, neither Sinnig nor Bulk, will be alive to see Garza return.
Yeah.
Oh, come
But
on, come on, wait,
judging
hang
judging
on a
by the
minute. Wait,
pension,
you're gonna accept that as a prophecy, but then what Kam said to
judging
Karsa? Oh, come
judging
on.
by the penchant that yeah, we will have in okay, no, I don't think it's so much a prophecy or a vow. It's more like Sinnig understands that Karsa is probably not going to return based on what he sees outside, because he thinks he's capable enough to understand that, yeah, the faces in the rock aren't actually gods, they're manipulating us, and by extension would understand not to return until, I don't know, maybe never, because for whatever reason might find something better outside, in the outside world, in quote unquote civilization. If only he knew. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I think it would be much cooler if he was alive, because he's like the sensible voice of reason among the Teblor, now that Dallas is gone. And if he just died randomly, off page, we would feel a bit lame.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Damask then.
Oh boy. This is, okay. So before I go on about Damask, because I have not read the book in a while, I would hear your thoughts first to refresh my memory.
Um, Damask was, I mean, he was a world-weary bastard, and so he first meets Grant outside the lake, and that's when he's spending his time. He's retired. He just wants to die in peace, and he's thinking about his life, all the sins he committed back when he was a tracker or a slaver or whatever he was, and I think deep down he wanted to redeem himself in some way, and I think that some of the things he did, it did not sit right with him. And although how do I put this? Um although he was retired and he wanted to die in peace, he when the opportunity came to do some good, he grasped it with both hands, or rather in this case he extended his one hand to Rant and pull him out and gave him the second wind. And that was how Rant met his first friend, and something which had uh, a significant impact on Rant's life. And in a way, um, Damask, whatever he did to Karsa, all the wrongs that he did to Karsa, in some ways, I think he atoned by helping Rant and helping Rant grow. So he was a very good. It was actually. I was. It was a pleasant surprise to see Damask this way, because I was when I read his name in the Dramatis Personae along with Silgar Younger, I thought those two would probably get together and cause some problems again, but this was refreshing. This was really nice, I think.
Mm-hmm.
His whole redemption arc.
Yeah. Did I miss
Okay.
much? Sorry. Yeah, go on, go on,
Not
Lee.
really. We were just talking about Damask's early arc. So, Mora, do you have anything to add about Damask before I go on?
Oh, Damascus, yeah, as Rose said, that was quite unexpected and quite surprising. And I think this is one of the really well done redemption arcs we've seen,
Mm,
right? Compared to, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, it probably exceeds Karsa's redemption in my eyes, because this guy truly, truly regrets what he's done. He accepts his death, and all those things. It just makes for a really sad, a really tragic character, just driven by guilt. So
And
Mm-hmm.
that
and
was very
one more,
interesting. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
though.
one more thing. Sorry for the interruption. There is another thematic uh, concept that is being reinforced with Damask, and that is the fact that actions have consequences.
Yeah,
And Damask, he kidnapped or enslaved the Sunit tribes, and in the end, he paid for that by being chained and eaten by a bear or something. Well, basically, the whole fact that he paid for his actions, even though he did help Rant, it still shows that his original actions had some consequences, and I like that. It was
yeah,
poetic and tragic. But yeah, good writing that.
that was good. Yeah. You, Lee, what did you think?
Okay, so you guys mentioned the word redemption a few times, and
Yeah, and that immediately
so
interests you. Yeah.
I bring that up because I don't think Damask wanted redemption. I think, if anything, Damask knew that redemption was past them. he had accepted that as a fact of life, that he's not one to be redeemed, and whatever he does will never come close to atoning him for what he did in the past. Now, regardless of what we think of him and how we see him or how Rand sees him, because that's how we see him, a lot of what Demisk says and does is born of guilt, like you said. And there are a few scenes, like when Rand first meets the Teblor, where you can see within Demisk this internal conflict of, if I walk forward, I'm a dead man. I could leave, possibly, get hunted down, leave the kid to die, and just drink myself to drunken stupor until I kill myself out of guilt when I'm high or drunk or on alcohol. And I think there's a quote that says like 5 more paces or something
10 more.
to Rand, 10 more paces, which is just you know what happens after that. Everyone knows what happens after that. Like, he's a dead man walking.
Yeah.
And the fact that he accepts in such a way is very poignant. It's very poetic. Moreover, Damask is a very interesting exploration of what it means to what redemption should mean, because you may recall there is a quote from Amanda Rake in Told Hounds that goes like, absolution is a passive act, redemption is an active act.
Yeah.
And the Redeemer seeks to aid someone redeeming themselves, but he cannot do so himself. He cannot redeem others. He can only guide them into the path. So, by all measurable standards, if such things can be objectified or quantified, Demisk has redeemed himself for his past actions by saving Rand. Because there is evident regret. There is desire for change, but he can't accept that. Because what good would it be if he's enslaved the whole goddamn tribe and led them to extinction? And I think that is most exemplified when he dies, because do you recall what he says to the bear that killed him?
God, kill me, God damn it, or something. He goads it to kill him, isn't it?
He goads it to kill him by saying that he killed his beget or
His
something.
mate, your mate,
So
that was a she bear with cubs and all that. So
if you don't pick up on the parallel that Damask sees the same thing in Rand, and his enslavement of the Teblor will not be simply atoned because he saved one Teblor. Yeah, well, there you go.
Right.
So he is a very interesting character in that regard, and his POVs are interesting too because of the whole Azath hold thing that we see, which I don't remember, but you probably do.
Yeah.
Should we talk about that now, later?
No, why not?
Now's a good time, I guess.
Well, what is your take on that, Ro?
Right, so
go on, Lee. Go ahead.
I don't remember much. I remember the chain Skygeep thing and the chained god that he finds in there, and how he thinks, and how that scene gives rise to the infamous quote of Limper's fucked knee. But that's about all I remember. So please go on, fill me in the details.
This felt to me, it gave me the same feeling I had when I was reading Kalam in the Imperial War and looking at all the Skykeeps, which foreshadowed the Keychain Naruk plotline, right? In the Book of the Fallen. That was what it foreshadowed, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I mean.
Yeah. I know
they were all they were clinging on to that, to the bottom of that Skykeep, and no, that was not it. Someone in the Imperial War and sees like a fuck ton of Skykeeps just going by, and that was the kind of impression I got from this scene, and something tells me that it will be explored in the third book, if not the second book, because this chained god, he's free, and again, the theme where actions have consequences. This guy is freed. He kills like the entire an army of Kichain Chemal Kel hunters, I think, and then he just walks away or something. Or the sky keep is destroyed, or all the keeps are destroyed, and that is bound to have some kind of a consequence because he clearly is a powerful entity and we don't know who he is. So I think it's just Steve setting up something for the future.
Yeah. No, to me, it felt like a reflection of what Damask was thinking about killing all the livestock and weakening the tribe because they depend on the migrating herds, isn't it? So once the herds are decimated, the tribe invariably weakens. It's all, I don't know, it's all a statement on all the ecological destruction that we are doing with the floods and with the livestock changes and the change in lifestyles and all those things. So that's the way I saw this chain god getting freed and immediately destroying or pushing into extinction an entire species of creatures. So I don't know. Maybe there's a parallel there.
The parallel I think is with the Imas, because I remember somewhere in the Book of the Fallen, the
Memories of
Imas were
Ice.
also hunting all the Betharen whether in herds and
Yeah,
to extinction basically. And it came to a point where they probably would have died if not for the vow, the ritual they made,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
think that is the parallel
Something like
between.
that. The last eye was seen, the last wolves and all those things. Yeah, it keeps coming back. This whole thing of once people move somewhere, once mortals go someplace, it's just going to, destruction is going to follow.
Hmm,
So, do we have anything more in the Teblor? Do you want to do the Jack now, or shall we keep it for like part two?
uh,
Because I
Jack.
love the
I mean,
Jack.
yeah, we discussed war bits, so we might as well talk about the
Right.
Jack as well. Now, I actually didn't understand uh, the there were two Jack tribes, right? White Jack and Black Jack. So I don't
Yeah.
understand what their relation was. Do you guys know anything?
Lee, do you have an idea?
I've not read the book in 9 months. Do I look like I have an idea?
No, I mean,
I mean,
No, I
no,
don't
or
remember. No.
no, I
no,
don't think there is. Yeah, yeah, Lee, yeah, Ro.
No, my point is they were just there, and then we don't know about their history. Whereas when it comes to the same D, we know that those guys wanted to kill the Jek because the same D were descendants of the Imas, and Jek were related to the Jagots in some way. So we have that relationship explored, but we don't have the relationship between the two Jek tribes explored. So were they enemies? Were they allies? What were they doing? We have nothing about them, and suddenly in the end, Lord Gower and Lord Castnock are they were allies,
Best
but
friends. Yeah.
yeah, but you could say that that was also because of the flood, because that is like a crisis before which everyone were, they were molded into one unit basically, like all of them. It didn't matter whether they were Teblor or humans or whatever. So we don't know what the relationship was between the two Jack tribes before, and I don't know. Warbitch also appeared only to Lord Gower, because I don't know if she appeared to Lord Castnock as well. So I don't know.
But I felt they were more like the Teblor tribes. Sunid, Rathid, Urid. So maybe there was black and white were the different races or different tribes of Czech, maybe.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
could be. Yeah.
but they were surprised that these two are, they're being nice to each other and being friendly because everyone expected them to sort of, I don't know, fight each other or something, isn't it? When Gower and Kosnak met,
Yeah.
Kasnak, I can't say her name, sorry.
Yeah. But I guess we should talk about Gower and Nilgan.
Nilgan, yes, yes. Do you
Right.
remember
Like
anything at all, Lee, about these two?
I remember that Gower's like this, the father figure to Rand. He's the older brother. Nilgan is just this, way too
Yeah,
eager to challenge people.
yeah.
Pop, basically, the village idiot. The guy is like, yeah, he's related to
Oh,
Gower, and so people tolerate him, and he's like pretty funny if you get past his antics.
I never
By
figured
the way,
out
before you go
that.
on, I'm sorry. Before you go on, Gower is actually the name of the illustrator for the maps for the Malazan books.
Oh,
is that right?
Yeah, Neil Gower has
Uh-huh.
been illustrating since like Gardens, basically,
Oh, so his
and
name
so I
is
think this
Neil.
character is a tribute to Neil.
Nice. That's
Anyway,
very nice.
that's all.
yeah. So
So Gower
what I was saying
and
was
Nilgan, yeah.
I didn't figure out the fact that they were brothers until the reveal, and when that reveal happened, it made so much sense. And yeah, I was wondering there was definitely something up with those two, because Nilgun, he was airing out all those things about deposing Gower, attacking him, killing him, but then he did nothing. He did absolutely nothing, and it was apparent that there was something more, but for the life of me, I couldn't figure out what it exactly was until it was revealed, which was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was nice. The way they were portrayed, it felt like they were siblings. And again, it's another aspect of the duo thing Erickson and Cam are especially good at. So yeah.
So I think this is one of the ways he writes sibling relations, which makes so much sense to me. There is a set of brothers in Rejoice too,
Okay.
and they have this sort of long conversation, sort of similar to this, where they're just challenging each other and saying, "Once you die, I'm going to do this" and all that. And then they actually end the conversation with, "I love you, bro," and all that.
Hmm.
So that made,
Yeah.
that's the way he writes. So that's the way the whole relationship comes across. We know I mean, obviously, after seeing Tavor and Ganos with I Lost Her, we know the way he
Yeah.
can write siblings. So it shouldn't surprise us at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and Neilgan has some well placed. I don't know. I don't know if you'd call them jokes, but because he's a traveler among them. He's the one who's been to unexplored countries and the in the great dens of the Southlands and all that. You know, he's the one who has some knowledge about what's going on out in the outside world. So.
Mhm.
Do you remember he says things like women
With
are going to ask money once they
Yeah.
play with, yeah,
Yeah.
they
He
don't
goes to the
understand the
brothels.
concept.
Yeah.
They don't
That was
understand the
funny.
concept of privilege and all. I mean, it's well placed, you know. At some, it's always fun when Neil Gunn is talking on the page.
Yeah, he was the comic relief to more serious scenes surrounding Rant, I guess.
I might have read some of their scenes twice because you know that was so much fun. And they say who speaks for you when they first meet Dallas in the Teblor hillside, and she asks who among you is going to speak, and Neil Gunn immediately starts, "I am Neil Gunn," and immediately Gower stops him saying that he is and he will remain so, and he speaks only for himself.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, these two are good. Yeah, I hope we see more of them. They didn't die, right? Did I miss it
no,
somewhere?
no,
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 they didn't
no.
No,
die.
no, no,
Yeah,
no. They're alive.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, should we just wind this up and make it like a part two for the other storyline, the Malazan
Marines.
Marines? Which so that's going to be a little sour one, isn't it?
It's going to be like a hours
I
long
don't know.
probably, and half of that's going to be me ranting about Malik. So
And the rest half is going to be Ro ranting about Marines. So let's get to that.
it's going to be great.
Thank you for
Yeah.
listening, and we'll see you in part two. Right?